Welcome back to the top tonight. Are you heading out to the polls on this primary day? Of course, the big race that we've been focusing on is that for the Syracuse mayor, the Democratic primary there. Incumbent Mayor Stephanie Miner trying to hold on to her seat. Pat Hogan, the Syracuse Common Councilor, and Alfonso Davis are challenging her for the role of Syracuse mayor. They want to take over her spot. So are you going to be heading out on primary day? It doesn't seem like too often we see many people paying attention, because if you look at voter turnout traditionally on a primary day, it is typically very low, which seems to be what we're seeing again tonight.
And we expected it. It's exactly as we sort of thought it would go, and how the elections officials thought it was going to go.
Yeah, which leads you back to the importance of party designation for winning a primary. It's very, I always give credit to the candidates who are willing to step forward, like Joni Mahoney, for example, who's been the county executive now for a couple of terms, and she wouldn't be there if she hadn't been strong enough to run a primary against Dale Sweetland a number of years ago, when the Republican Party did not want her to be the candidate.
On the party bosses and say, I want to do this.
But what a machine you have to create on your own then. In this case, Stephanie Miner, who is really the head of the Democratic Party in our area by title and by the head of the New York State Democratic Party, and has the Democratic machine, which includes the 17th Ward and in the core Democratic areas where she could turn out hundreds and hundreds of voters. And then Alfonso Davis and Pat Hogan are such a shoestring compared to that. So it's very difficult to overcome that.
And I think that probably what a lot of people don't realize is that their vote today really means a lot, because there's a very good chance that whoever is selected in this Democratic primary will become the mayor of Syracuse. You look at the Republican side, and they have had just a terrible time even finding someone who can run on that ticket.
And that's really what I think is sort of pathetic about this day. And the headline that I'll take away from this day is that the city of Syracuse deserves better than for the race for mayor to be decided ultimately in September, as opposed to on election day in November. And not just on election day in November, but on election day with two very strong candidates, two real equals, going at it, talking about the tough issues that this city faces. It's one thing for us to question Mayor Miner when she comes in, but that's one person's perspective, and she happens to be in charge of the city, so she has great influence. You know what I mean? We deserve better as a city, and we're just not going to.
Well, her first go-around, it was a pretty good campaign. Steve Kamadian was a Republican. He was a longtime businessman. He was active in the community. He really wanted to be mayor, brought the credibility of the position, came up short on the voting side, and you have to look at voter registration, too. The city voter registration is roughly 2-to-1 in favor of Democrats, maybe even a little bit more.
I'm not saying it's an easy road.
And typically that is what
which I think is part of the reason.
Cities.
Well, yes. There are certainly a lot of northeastern cities have Democrats that are more strongly based in cities compared to the small towns and the rural areas. So we do see that here. Roy Bernardi was a Republican, but he was a mainstream, middle of the road, used to be a Democrat Republican, so he was able to reach across and win voters on both sides.
And I'm not saying Tom Dady has not tried as hard as I think he could
not an easy job.
As the Republican chairman to go out and find. That's not an easy conversation to have, given the way the last election went with Steve Kamadian and Stephanie Miner. I mean, and Steve Kamadian was a strong candidate. I'm saying, turn over one more leaf. There's got to be something out there. I mean, we deserve a real battle over it, I think, and we're not going to get it.
So what would it take? What's it take to get that strong Republican?
You got to find somebody who...
Do we need to change residency requirements? I mean, doesn't the mayor need to live in the city?
Certainly,
of course.
Absolutely.
That's bottom line.
So maybe you need to look outside. Maybe you need to go to one of the surrounding counties, somebody who lives outside the city, and you can find
you'd have to have them move into the city.
Formidable candidate. Maybe they don't live in the city, but maybe
give
they
them
could...
a cool apartment downtown, and then
There you go.
Yeah, maybe. That might not be legal, but you could find a way to do it, and it might attract somebody. You're right. That's not a bad idea. Maybe for the next 4 years. It's not going to happen this month, that's for sure. You can join us in the conversation. #TalkCNY on Twitter. Also comment on Facebook or our website anytime. We'd love to hear what you say just before you head out to the polls to cast your ballot tonight.